military grade provocations and military grade psychology. In this video, I will overkill the irrefutable fact that a faction of America has for a long time been trying to reason with the rest of America while they have been playing political games. They've been sad. Some people are nice white people, nice farmers who don't want any problems. They have avoided their responsibility of coming together and insisting on what is exactly right. The greatness of America is the right to protest for right, not for controlled opposition gains, but for what is exactly right, even if it kills you like it killed Martin Luther King Jr. So first, let's briefly discuss how gang members became the kind of occult-themed groups that they are today. Early on, gangs were a little bit less controlled by the government than they are now, or significantly less, because in we'll say the 50s, the 60s, they were earlier groups, right? Groups that were similar to the gladiators and the businessmen, and like you ever seen the movie about the warriors, right? This warrior gang that went around town fighting other gangs. Okay. Then some of them morphed into the Black Panthers. Okay, and then the crack epidemic and everything that hit. And then what happened then was that some of them went back to being gang members and the Black Panther Party dissipated. So these people were trying to reason with America, right? Let's say the black people in this case. And they were trying to reason with them as gang members, trying to protect their neighborhood and trying to reason with the police and so on and so forth and with society. And society was wanting them to fail. Just like after they set the slaves free, a lot of them went back to the plantation. So some of them decided to push hard and become Black Panthers, and it was a very controlled opposition movement, but it was designed to catch anyone who felt more that way and to screen them out. And a lot of people got killed. There was like 12,000 informants in the ghetto informant program. There was all kinds of stuff going on at the time. Okay. So obviously they've done things like interrupted and made some little noise in the background, but bear with me. This is an important video. Okay, if you people want to come together and do your American duty, your duty as human beings to help secure me, my freedom of speech in a place where I can talk uninterrupted, that would be great. Where I wouldn't be fumed and have, undercover cops, okay, come in and be honest about what they see going on and make a report, okay, that would be great. But I don't think you're going to do that. And for the same reason, the gang culture is above every other allowed American culture. It is sad, but that's the case. You people act like complete cowards and complete idiots and evil people who pretend that you're good. The wolf in sheep's clothes is worse than the wolf who kept trying to reason with everyone else. Write that down. The wolf in sheep's clothes is worse than the wolf that kept trying to reason with everyone else. One last time. Again, I'm not a wolf. I'm talking about gang cultures. I'm not a gang member. Say it with me. The wolf in sheep's clothes is better than the wolf who kept trying to reason with everyone else. Excuse me, is lower than the wolf in sheep's clothes is worse. Okay, look, fuck these motherfucking interfering ass bitches. Okay, let's face it, white America, Jewish America, and LGBT America, as with few exceptions, if any, went way the fuck out of their way to interfere with certain groups of black people who try to reason with everyone else, and usually it was more individuals than groups. Okay, and it's some bitch ass fucking shit. And America should be fucking ashamed of itself. Let's talk about an invisible package of unearned social assets. An invisible package of unearned social assets. Does the poor white guy have the same struggles as the poor black guy? No. There's some similar struggles, overlapping struggles, but not the same struggle. Okay, there are white social clubs that are white only with the stated and intended goal of elevating white people over every other group. Not just hate groups, but social clubs, massive social clubs like the Freemasons. Their black, counterparts are basically like overseers and the blacks that worked in the household. That's not the same as them having the same power or something or balancing their power. Pretty straightforward. So white people, even homeless white people, have an invisible package of unearned social assets on a spectrum. Okay? It's just some of them fell out of favor with the others. They got hooked on drugs, you named it, and they fucked it up. Just because you fucked off your invisible package, because you didn't want to, maybe for a good reason, maybe for a bad reason, doesn't mean it wasn't there. It doesn't mean to some degree it still isn't there. These people even deny that. How can the groups of conservatives or whoever else who deny that that is the case argue that their culture is superior to gang culture? It's not. A gang member's right to want to assault you and rob you because of what you're doing to them. You are playing your part in a military grade operation to provoke them, to wage psychological warfare on them, and to cause them all sorts of harm. All right. So remember also conceptions of social worth. That is key. This is just kind of a prelude. Let's lead into my my first official point. These are clear insights. They're going to be interrupted because they're clear insights. And the government doesn't want me to say this in a way that is clear, because right now the psychological operation is let the black people tell the truth to some degree, interfere with them, make deals with some of them. They make deals with the other ones to kind of say things in a way that allowed for the conservative to be like, oh, because they're not precisely to the point. It's rare they nail it to the point and say, this is why you're wrong, which allows the game to continue. So they're playing the game instead of trying to solve the problem. Point number one, almost all Americans acknowledge that the government is corrupt. This by default means that the economic system is corrupt. If almost all Americans acknowledge that their government is corrupt, how on earth could the economic system not be corrupt? I would love to hear their explanation for that. Okay? They're basically saying, just work hard, You're saying work hard in a corrupt corporate state system, okay, that is responsible for all kinds of evils here and abroad. And if you don't, we're going to hate you with all of our hearts. Instead of stand with you or stand on our own, trying to encourage you to join us for what is precisely right. Not the left or right agenda, but for what is precisely right. Until white America says to black America, we're going to stand for what is precisely right in a timely fashion before it doesn't matter due to tech breeding and ill-gotten gains, they cannot argue that they have the moral high ground. They don't. They're just playing the game and taking advantage and playing their part in exploiting them and holding them down along with the other people they exploit and hold down. But because right now it is a black-white issue to some degree in the news and in the comments, okay? Black Lives Matter, all the crime rate we see in the news. Black people made a deal with the government to assault people a certain way, to target Asians. You think they would continue to target Asians knowing they might get charged with a hate crime? They have a deal with the government most of the time. And other times they're using technology to provoke them, and to get them to do that, they're running psychological operations. They've been running these psychological operations for a long time. You think they didn't get good at it? These are the people who argue that they've been doing things for a long time. They're like, I've been in this industry for 50 years, boy. Who are you to tell me this, this, and this? It's the same thing with the psyops. They just don't want to say it out loud. They're like, hey, we've been running psyops for fucking decades, pal. I think we know what we're doing. Okay, don't you see what's going on here? Okay? Point number two. This means that store owners are defending their trickle-down, ill-gotten gains while refusing to come together to insist on a fair government or at least an effective war on poverty plan. I'm going to make another video where I make this real brief. I just go over these points and I just wrap it up. Okay? This means that store owners, okay, the ones who are being attacked included, I'm not saying they should be attacked. Okay, there's a bunch of racist white people who are quick to rush in with their token minority allies, say just because they're working at a store doesn't mean they deserve to get attacked. I'm not saying that. You straw men building fools. You know nothings, you cowards. Okay, this means that store owners are defending their trickle-down, ill-gotten gains while refusing to come together to insist on a fair government or at least an effective war on poverty plan. So it's not just the government is the problem, it's those people who stand by and do nothing. Now a lot of times they're afraid of what's going to happen to them. They have immigrants in their families, they might be immigrant workers there or whatever, right? Have some kind of work visa or something, and they're afraid to be deported. There's other issues going on here. I'm not saying they're not. but we have to look at the thing for what it is, especially with an emphasis on the key points. And these are key points that are ignored, especially by the right wing. Point number 3. To describe this any other way is to be at least semi-conscious that one is obstructing justice, morally speaking and not legally speaking. That is, morally speaking and not legally speaking. To describe this any other way is to be at least semi-conscious that one is obstructing justice. Okay, to describe it as, hey, you know what I'm saying, they're robbing hard-working Americans. You know what, that's black people for you. Depending on how you say it is also how racist it is. Because it's a racial issue, to be ignorant, right? Racism is also ignorance. To be ignorant, it's ignorant to be racist, rather. To purposely be ignorant is to be purposely racist on this issue. But I'll tell you, they made it hard for me to even write down speeches. They're fuming me. They're messing up my eyes so I can't be on the computer too long. They're going the distance and they have me on 24-hour surveillance. How far they've gone to prevent me from having an audience, from making my speeches effectively, is extremely evil. And part of the reason is so that someone else can fill the void. One or more people can fill the void that it creates. It is disgusting. Like, hi, I work for the government and I'm allowed to speak and articulate myself well and write down my speeches and have a forum, right? It is pathetic. Point number 4. On top of an unappealing school system and a miserable starting position, many poor people suffer from background stressors, including sexual abuse and all sorts of trauma. As the governing class has canceled many cultures over the years, we see systematic and pervasive peer pressure, which often leads to the downfall of many people, especially more vulnerable individuals. As they've created, and the black community is a good example because we look at the disproportionate incarceration of black people. Okay, why is this happening? Because they've analyzed things. Sociologists, social scientists who've been studying society for a long time have been studying how to give the white man the upper hand for a long time. And they said, let's create more background stressors because that directly translates into less of them getting college degrees and being successful in life and so on and so forth. It's pretty straightforward. Anyone who takes a basic psychology class in college has no doubt in their mind that background stressors factor in. And when you look at it on the social stage, the stage of sociology, the greater picture, we see that it is deliberately done to keep black people down, okay? And even if only 1 in 10 white people was an active racist, think about the effect that would have. Even if they all act individually, but there's obviously a concerted effort and concerted efforts going on here. 5. One must consider the bigger picture and all the obstacles an individual faces while putting justice over one's life and one's family to determine what morally precise justice is for that case and individual. Only this allows for the possibility of judging with mental clarity. See, the people who are assigned the jobs of getting to the bottom of this aren't willing to die for what's right. They're just social club bitches. They're just coerced puppets. Okay? They are not. They're too greedy and scared. Only being willing to die for what's morally precise allows for one's the mental clarity to examine this effectively and speak on it with truth. 6. Why do African Americans commit more crimes than most their African counterparts during peaceful times? Africans govern better, and the die is cast. The answer must be that African culture is superior because it comes down from Africans than African American culture, which comes down from white people and or is a response to white people's governance and cultures while they're surrounded by white people and other races when they're only 13% of America. Where I live, they're only 2 to 3% of the county. So therefore, them being around Africans would make them superior. And where we see Africa in decline, it's where the puppet governments have done more harm and where globalism has caused more harm. I'll end it there. I'm going to do another video real quickly where I just go through the points.